In the headlines, Atiku leads PDP protest in Abuja, march to INEC office. Traders, vendors ignore Supreme Court ruling on old Naira notes use, await CBN directive. Yobe government lifts ban on use of motorcycle in 7 local government areas in 11 years after. And on the foreign scene, Indonesian officials call for probe as casualties from oil depot storage fire rises. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. And now the news in detail. The People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, national chairman of the party Iota Ayu, and the director general of the PDP campaign Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal are among party leaders currently leading a peaceful protest to the Office of Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja. The party leaders were joined by some members of the National Working Committee and Board of Trustees of the party. The protesters, clad in black attire and riding in 2 open vans, started the protest from Legacy House in Maitama, the presidential campaign office of the PDP. They're expected to move together to the INEC office, where the party leaders are expected to lay their grievances to electoral empire. The PDP is protesting the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections and the declaration of the candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as winner of the election. The party had before now called for the cancellation of the elections and the conduct of a fresh one following what they said were irregularities during the exercise. Following the outcome of last Saturday's presidential election, the Center for Transparency Advocacy is appealing to Nigerians to exercise restraint and avoid violence. Executive Director of the Center, Faith Nwadishi, who called on all aggrieved parties to seek legal redress, also expressed her organization's dissatisfaction with INEC's prosecution of the election. The CTA added that, though disappointed, the election still had its peculiarities.
Nigerians strongly believe that the BVAS will be the real game changer. The BVAS only worked well to the extent of accreditation and perhaps showing the actual voting strength in Nigeria. The reason why we specifically picked the BVAS was that the BVAS was the instrument of magic that we all looked forward to. Considering the magic that the BVAS had done during the Osun and the Ekiti election, we were looking forward to that. But there were complaints about the BVAS not working, the BVAS not capturing fingerprints, just about 24% of the areas. And these were areas where elections were held. It's important to know that some things went well in this election despite the avoidable challenges. This election could go down in history as staging upsets in areas traditional to certain politicians. Some perceived strong politicians were roundly defeated in their strongholds. Sitting governors lost elections to little-known politicians, and unexpectedly, some less politically fancied Nigerians were elected to the National Assembly.
Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Saleh has cautioned people in the state against the use of religion and ethnicity to cause crisis. The governor gave the warning during a meeting with religious leaders following different videos trending on social media calling on residents of Nasarawa State to vote based on religion during next week's gubernatorial election. Correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi sent in the report as presented in our studios.
Addressing the religious leaders on the provocative trending video, Governor Abdullahi Sule described the trend as dangerous to the growth of democracy, adding that it is a threat to the unity of the state if allowed to continue. He therefore appealed to the people of the state to avoid utterances capable of causing religious conflict in the state. He called on religious clerics to caution their followers against engaging in acts inimical to the teachings of their faith.
On the various religions, I'm not apportioning any blame to anyone. I don't even know who started, but from what you are seeing, it is going wild. Because now we are having people from far outside the state who feel they should participate in the debate of Nasarawa State. And that is because we allow ourselves. According to Abraham Lincoln, in his speech, where he mentioned a house divided against itself cannot stand. So we have to be very careful not to allow religion to be the reason that will divide us so badly.
Speaking to journalists shortly after the meeting, State Chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria, Sunday Ima, and Secretary General of Jama'at Nasr al-Islam, Muhammad Ali, expressed happiness with the meeting. They said the measures taken by the governor would give confidence to the followers to come out and cast their votes during the March 11th gubernatorial election in the state without fear of intimidation.
And from the angle of CAN, we are so happy with the call because a lot of our members are worried as to what will happen on the 11th of March, whether they will come for election or not, because of the threat, the intimidation, and all the provocative statements. But with this meeting, we call on every Christian, not just Christian, every well-meaning Nigerian, especially in Nasarawa State, to come out and vote. There's every assurance that there is security, and more so that anyone who wants to obstruct the peace when enjoying this state will not be allowed to do so.
One good thing with Nasarawa State, we have never fight any religious fighting in the state. And inshallah, this time around will not come as a religious fighting. So Excellency emphasized more on the peace, and let us have a peace. And some of these provocative videos and hate speeches, which he said we should let our followers to desist from such videos or hate speeches. We just want to have a peaceful election, just like we had during the presidential election.
The leaders of the two major religions promised to extend the message to their followers across different parts of the state.
Adamawa State Labour Party gubernatorial candidate Umar Mustafa Otumba, alongside thousands of his supporters, have defected to the All Progressives Congress. Otumba announced his defection in Yola. He urged all his supporters across the 21 local government areas to vote the candidate of the APC, Senator Aishatu Binani, in the March 11th governorship election. Senator Binani appreciated the support, describing it as a big success.
Today is a dream come true. And asking what value will this add to this journey? Certainly, I'm sure whoever sees this combination today, I'm sure the opposition will be shaking. They know that APC has bounced to take over the leadership, the governance of Adamawa State. So therefore, we all know who is Otumba, we all know what value he can add, we all know his supporters across the 21 local government. Whenever Otumba's name is mentioned anywhere in the nation, not only in Adamawa State, he has one thing or the other positively to add.
Politicians in the country have been advised to apply caution and guard their utterances in order not to truncate the nation's democracy. Some groups under the aegis of Katsina Youth Enlightenment Crusade on Peace and Development gave the warning at a press briefing. Abdullahi Yamadi completes the report.
Though the groups admitted that the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections were characterized by sharp practices, but yet could be described as the best in Nigeria's political history. The group, which is non-partisan, urged Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to rectify some anomalies which include late commencement of election, late delivery of election materials and voter endorsements by politicians, among others.
In Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi State, Kebbi and Niger State, citizens are being decimated by the menace of banditry and terrorism. We hope to see a clear blueprint on how to bring it to an immediate and definite end.
While calling on Nigerians not to compromise peaceful coexistence on account of political ambition of any politician, the group appeals to the president-elect to form an all-inclusive government.
We urge him to also listen to the voices of building a new Nigeria, including from well-meaning individuals across all other political parties. We call on him to assemble a committee of experts in the economic field to bring to an end the financial predicament Nigerians are facing today.
In specific terms, the group called on the incoming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to complete some federal projects initiated by the successive administrations in Katsina State.
The rail project from Kano to Maradi of Niger Republic passing through Katsina State. The completion of Kano to Kaduna Federal Highway, the construction of 75 megawatt plant at Lambarimi, Katsina State, Ketco Booster Station in Katsina, School of Nursing and Midwifery in Malumfashi, and the proposed Funtua Agricultural University.
Many political observers hope to see improvement as it relates to electoral laws during the upcoming governorship and state assembly elections. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Despite the Supreme Court ruling that the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes remain legal tender till December 31st, 2023, fuel stations, supermarkets and market women are still rejecting the old naira notes. On March 3rd, 2023, the Supreme Court ruled the old banknotes remain legal tender till December 31st, 2023, thereby setting aside the February 10 deadline to phase them out. The Supreme Court said the Naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria was an affront to the 1999 constitution of the country, hence the old Naira notes remain legal for 10 months. However, the ruling of the Supreme Court was not enough to convince Nigerians of the legality of the old Naira notes, as vendors insist on hearing from the CBN before accepting the old notes.
I'm not sure, because I spent it on Saturday. This is old Naira notes, 500 Naira. I spent it on Saturday and they don't collect it. That's why I said they have notes, so that we can even test it. We just walk to the shop, buy something with it, whether they can collect. They said because Buhari have not said anything, and the what did they call it, Emefiele have not said anything. That's why people are not collecting it. I want to give this guy now, he's bringing his own, so that everybody have the old notes in his hand. We don't know how to spend it, we don't know how to go about it.
Because if I collect old money, if I don't know where I want to go spend them. That's why I know they collect old notes. People say Buhari never come out to talk, say made them collect old notes. That's why anybody no agree collect. Yes, because now bank, if you carry old note to go bank, they know they collect. But if I carry old note to go bank, then go collect for my hand. I go collect them for shop. I'll go put them for my account for bank. But now if I collect, I don't know where I can go spend them. Up to now I have old notes, almost like 20,000. I don't know where I want to go spend them.
They say they show it in the television that they should start collect 1,500. But in my area yesterday, we take a woman take 1,000 to go and buy something. They rejected it. They reject the old 1,000 naira. She came back. So I don't know what they want to do now.
The Yobe State government has lifted the ban on the use of motorbikes in 7 local government areas of the state. The special advisor to the governor on security affairs, Brigadier General Dahiru Abdusalam, retired, who stated this in Damaturu, said the lifting of the ban takes effect from 6th March 2023 in Busari, Damaturu, Gaidam, Gujba, Gulani, Tarmua and Yunusara local government areas. According to him, the motorbikes are to operate between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, adding that they're not to be used for commercial purposes known as achaba. Abdusalam maintained that there should be proper registration, licensing and documentation of all motorbikes and riders in the affected local government areas by the Yobe State Road Traffic Management Agency and the Yobe State Vehicle Licensing Authority. He noted that there would be no interlocal government area movement with motorbikes, adding that security agencies have been requested to monitor and ensure strict compliance with these directives. You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Why locally made hospital equipments are being recommended ahead of imported ones. Do stay with us.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that Atiku leads PDP protest in Abuja, march to INEC office. We also told you that traders, vendors ignore Supreme Court ruling on old Naira notes use, await CBN directive. Moving to other stories, a torrential rainstorm that accompanied a 2-hour rainfall on Friday evening destroyed no fewer than 105 buildings in Okeako, Inikole local government area of Ekiti State. It also destroyed electricity facilities across the town and threw the people into blackout. Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji, during an on-the-spot assessment of the town on Sunday, condoled with residents over the incident. Oyebanji, represented by his deputy, Monisha Deafuye, described the occurrence as highly devastating and assured that succor would soon come for the victims. The General Manager, Ekiti State Emergency Management Agency, Jide Borode, said the rainstorm effect could have been minimized if the landlords had keyed into the tree planting initiative of the state government. A Jos-based local inventor of hospital equipment, Abdullahi Ibrahim, says he believes that locally made equipments are more effective than those imported from foreign countries. The inventor, who works at Iyankeleshi Street of Jos North local government area of Plateau State, says he has made several local equipments which were tested by medical experts and recommended by medical doctors. Ado Musa completes the report.
The local inventor says, aside the non-core medical equipment such as operating and delivery beds, drip stand, he also invents sensitive equipment like laboratory incubator for culture and sensitivity, centrifuge for blood and urine analysis, special baby care unit or baby incubator for premature babies, among others.
On the categories of medical equipment, as I earlier started mentioning, is medical laboratory equipments. They are categorized into medical lab, theater, and also the pediatrics. Now, in the medical line, I produce centrifuges, microhematocrites and the reader, incubators for culture and sensitivity, and also electrophoresis machine for genotype. That's for the medical laboratory. In the theater, I produce theater beds, theater lamps, stand for drip stands.
According to him, the sensitive ones are not just made without proper research to understand their workability in an African environmental setting where temperature is usually high.
A lot of cases where doctors are finding it difficult to take care of premature babies, but with the invent of my what I produce, I was able to curb that and make it much more easier for the doctors. Also, I produce jaundice machine, or we call it phototherapy machine, which is good for jaundice babies who have jaundice, and is good for the treatment of jaundice.
Ibrahim said finance had been the major challenge of the job. He, however, said if government will intervene financially to support local inventors in innovation, more job opportunities will be created for the youth in the country.
Well, the challenges I faced was research work, R&D, research and development, and I was able to make a breakthrough, and most of the professionals in the field have recommended that my handwork is very satisfying to them, and it gives me a lot of courage. But the challenges I'm facing today is finances. I want to grow more. I want to grow and become a big industrial concern in that I can serve the whole nation, if not Africa. But the challenges, is finances, money, and equipment for me to be able to expand, make employment, and be able to meet the needs of the nation.
The inventor said, although many are looking down on the local equipment, they are more effective when compared to the foreign ones that require huge amounts of money to purchase. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
With high insecurity, high divorce rate, and high cost of living, women in Katsina are leveraging on business opportunities for their survival. Jamil Maba in this report tells the story of a female journalist who ventured into the restaurant business to keep body and soul together. The report.
Rukaya Aliyu Jibiya, a non-practicing journalist in Katsina. Being a male-dominated profession in her area, women find it difficult to break even due to cultural and religious limitations.
Yes, as a female journalist, I faced a lot of challenges. I think societal and religious challenges. I needed something because I need the cash flowing, because I have to take care of my kids and I have to take care of my family. So I thought of having a business, a side hustle aside from my job, that is journalism.
She decided to venture into business of selling food by opening her first restaurant.
One of my friends advised that I should open a restaurant, probably maybe because he always compliments whenever I cook, so he advised me that maybe I should open a restaurant, and I took his advice and started the restaurant. So that was why I started.
For any business to thrive, it has to stand out in terms of what is offered in the menu. To carve a niche for herself, she opened the first traditional restaurant.
So, I think in every business, one has to make a mistake in every new business. So, I made that same mistake that everybody makes. Maybe many people are tired of the food I'm selling. And this Gargajia business mostly is a business of old people in my society. Maybe the business is for old people, and at times maybe one might even want to eat the Gargajia food, but because of the environment, maybe the environment that he will go and eat will be like not hygienic, or let's say the atmosphere is not conducive for him. So I I think of maybe opening a Gargajiya restaurant, but maybe a little bit upgraded Gargajiya restaurant.
Cultural and religious barriers have affected women in business, hence increases women dependence on men. With harsh economic situation and high rate of poverty in a state with more than 7 million people, Rukaya is optimistic that with proper awareness and mentorship, young women can begin to create wealth for themselves. Jamilu Mubayib, Trust TV, Katsina.
On the foreign scene, top officials in Indonesia have called for a probe into the cause of a fire at the state-run oil storage depot in Jakarta on March 5, 2023. They also want an audit of Indonesia's energy facilities after several recent blazes. Dozens were also injured, and police said 3 people were still missing after Friday night's blaze at Pertamina's Pelumpang depot in North Jakarta. 35 people are still being treated, with many suffering severe burns, while more than 1,300 people living in residential areas near the depot had to be evacuated. The death toll has risen by 1 during the day. And finally, in sports, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria has confirmed Saturday's March 18 as the new date for the postponed national cross-country race. AFN's first vice president, who also heads the road race subcommittee, Tafita Kadzama, confirmed that the race earlier scheduled to hold last month will now hold on March 18, with Jalingo, the capital of Taraba State, still the venue. He said the journey to start producing world-class middle and long-distance runners begins with the athletes and the coaches, who must know that they need to include cross-country training in their training regime. The AFN vice president says cross-country running will make Nigerian athletes better and stronger runners. And with that, we wrap up Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.